All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I had a pretty interesting interaction yesterday on one of my consultations. Kind of crazy. We're going to talk a little bit about his inheritance acquisition from his great uncle. That was yeah. I guess you could say he was an avid coin collector, but somehow got mired in the late 80s and early into the early 90s into purchasing an absorbent amount of mint and proof sets. Over the course of 6 years, the distinguished gentleman ended up with just over 5,200 combined mint and proof sets from the 80s and 90s that he had accumulated. All right. Apparently, and this was even more stranger than that. He had met someone at a coin shop who not only was a coin shop operator, but was also doing the what you call it, the cash for gold stuff in the mid '90s. He had two establishments, I guess he ran, somewhere back east. To protect the innocent, we're actually not going to talk about exactly where. All right. Um, but at the same time, the same gentleman that had the cash for gold places, I think he had one at a mall or something. He had the coin shop, but he also had an investment firm, which is kind of strange. So this gentleman had all these things, and kind of crazy. It almost sounds like a kind of like underhanded TV huckster ish type of interaction between this gentleman and this person that operated all these different businesses. Somehow, kind of twisted this guy's arm into buying nothing but mint and proof sets. Apparently, the coin shop owner was continuously getting these things in. All right. In trade, for sale, things like that. People, and from what I can remember, especially going into the 90s, the later 90s going into the early 2000s, if you brought things like these uncirculated mid sets in, a lot of folks back in the day, it wasn't rare to hear these people say, just crack them open, deposit them in the bank. All right. So the second part to this whole story, about 5 years ago, his great uncle had passed away, and the large coin collection was actually passed down to him. Thinking that would be some exciting find. And, he knew that he was quite the collector, and so he thought that there would be like a lot more substance to it, right? Not just a bunch of mint and proof sets. So it turns out it was all mint proof sets from the 80s and 90s. There were even some of those kind of like fabricated by a third party 1983 mint sets, which the US Mint never produced any of those. And I'll get into why we're in eBay, because we're going to talk a little bit about the market for these and what our young man should do about these things. He's not very young. He's about the same age as I am. So the unfortunate part to it is, from what he told me, and he showed me some invoices that were in these boxes. There was, he said something to the nature of like four big, large totes. The kind of totes that you would use in the garage to just store stuff in. He had four great big totes of nothing but mint and proof sets. All right, and each one of them, if you can imagine, weighs a good solid 100 pounds, man. It's dead freaking weight. Unfortunately, there were only, from what he said, there were some 92 and 93 silver proof sets in there. He said there was a few dozen, but to kind of like not get too much on a tangent, he ended up finding some of these invoices, and he was paying like $20 to $30 for each one of these mint and proof sets. And this was something that was commonplace, guys. Like in the late 80s, early 90s, you had a great emphasis on TV promotion, right? Because the internet wasn't anything in the late 80s or 90s. You know, it was just an idea. There were a few nerds that were kind of like testing the idea of, you know, the World Wide Web. But for the most part, a lot of what you do hear about when it comes to these unfortunate events, you know, it's all about buying the stuff on TV, right? You call the 1-800 number, you know, you're on the phone. It's got this stupid little timer that's counting down on the TV, making you believe that, oh boy, you know, you only have 10 minutes to claim this, you know, or else. I mean, you guys have heard of that before, you know, let alone, you know, he did even some newspaper kind of like buying as well. You open up the Sunday paper, the good old USA Today or the Washington Post or whatever it was, New York Times, and then, you know, you get to a certain point in the newspaper where you have the classifieds and all that, and then sure enough, there'd be a little block in the corner that says, you know, we have rare 1943 steel pennies that you could buy for $10 a piece, and then they'd send you one. It's all covered in rust and crap. So obviously, you know, these instances, these things certainly worked, and they had their time and place in the grand lore of coin buying and selling. So, but yeah, I asked him, okay, what have you been doing with them? You know, he said, nothing. We've been sitting on these for the better part of the last 4.5, 5 years. It wasn't, and then this is where kind of like things took a little bit of a twist and a turn. Okay, and this is going to be a little bit of a lesson for you guys. If you came across these things, you should probably not do this. He ended up, due to the advice of a coin dealer, keep in mind, we are in 2023. Most coin dealers, as long as these things are complete with the envelope and you know, some of them, and especially in the later dates, this is a 1990, they'll have a little certificate of authenticity. Normally they would buy stuff like this, okay, and they'll either, you know, offer you one of two things. They'll either give you face value for mid sets such as this, or they open up their handy gray sheet and then give you, you know, a very cheap offer under bid, you know, gray sheet bid. So, you know, when it comes to these things, guys, you guys certainly need to do your research. So, him, his wife, and I think one of their kids, he ended up cracking open about 800 mint sets. All right. And they rolled them up and they took them to the bank. And that was that. So there is, and this is kind of like what a lot of us are encountering when we're going and doing roll hunts. We are coming across these just amazing caches of coins that are in such stupendous condition, and this is like one of the big reasons why. So yeah, he had cashed out you know, $1,000 worth of coins or whatever it was, face value. But let's go ahead and kind of like dig deeper into how much some of these are actually selling for on the open market. I was like, where'd my mouse pointer go? So if I typed in, say, a 1988 mint set, you know, that's like a very common date, right? Oftentimes when people go through these things, they're looking, especially today, they're looking for high-grade coins, okay? Because the high-grade coins, ladies and gentlemen, and that's probably why these mint sets have any sort of relevancy whatsoever, is that there are folks that are looking for premier specimens of various dates. They'll go and send those off to the coin grading companies in the hopes of the highest grade possible. Now, what does it matter to you know, the market? Why do people endear themselves in paying so much money for a 1988 Lincoln cent that grades out mint state 69? It's real easy. They're part of the registry set system, okay, through PCGS, through NGC, the grading companies. They have this registry system where you can accumulate the finest coins from each series. So you pick a series, all right? Obviously, kind of like the low hanging fruit series, like the Lincoln Cents, Jefferson Nickels, and probably the quarters are the three top ones to collect into. And there's really some people will argue there's no wrong way to collect into a registry set. You don't necessarily have to have the finest grades, but it's a points style grading system, or not a grading system, but a points style kind of like I don't know, game showcase, whatever you want to call it. It's all for bragging rights, but yeah, I mean, people are spending a lot of money on trying to accumulate and find and all that the finest graded specimens. And that's why, the Monday Market Report was kind of born on my channel, is that you guys get to see the best and worst of some of these instances where, I guess, geez, let me see. I'll give you guys a few examples of some of the crazy madcap type listings that have been going on here recently. 1978 proof set, right? Is a proof set that typically sells for $8 to $10. A 1978 S proof Lincoln Cent and proof 70 Deep Cameo recently sold for $2,300. Okay, a coin that customarily, if you were to walk into a coin shop and if they're lucky enough to have just a single coin in a 2x2 available for you, they'll probably charge you like 50 cents or a dollar for such a coin. A 1991 D Unk Lincoln Cent sold on April 3rd for $4,050. That coin ended up graded as a mid-state 69 red through PCGS. Wow. A 1961. Now, granted, 1961 mint and proof sets have 90% silver in them. So obviously those particular sets carry a much higher price tag in today's market. But in any event, a 1961 Lincoln in mid-state 67 plus red sold for $3,151. Okay, $3,151. Let me give you one more example, and hopefully we're going to be able to look at something that's a different denomination here. How about, let's see, 1976 Jefferson Nickel in mid-state 67 full steps, sold for over $1,600. There's been a few of them that have captivated my attention through this. 1969 Roosevelt dime, a dime out of all things. Some would say, man, those things aren't collectible at all. Nobody likes them. Well, someone paid over $2,000 here about a month ago for an example that graded mid-state 67 with full torch or full bands. Give me one more. Let's see if we can find a quarter this time around, because you guys would be interested in knowing about that one. Let's see. 1967 special mint set. Special mint sets today are again $8 to $10, even though they have that 40% silver half dollar in there. Well, an SMS PCGS SP68 Plus Cameo sold for over $2,300. And that sounds like a very high grade, but you gotta keep in mind that the coins will naturally grade higher in those proof and SMS sets because they are produced with quality in mind, right? They for the proof coins, they strike them twice, 3 times, or whatever it is. The dies are specially prepared for those type of things. But anyways, that's kind of like the big reason why that mint and proof sets have all of a sudden kind of like come back from the dead. People aren't paying nothing for them anymore. They're paying actually a reasonable amount of money, especially when we're getting into like mid sets of the more difficult years. 88, not exactly the most difficult, but it is one of the more plentiful. But you can see that people are asking prices of like $8 to $10, and hey, what happened here? Coins, paper money. So these things right here, like here's a Proof set that's sold with shipping for $8.95. Now, at first glance, it doesn't seem like a whole lot, right? And it's like, well, is it even worth doing that? Well, yeah, if you have a store, an eBay store that you're trying to season from the very bottom, you just started the thing, you might want to consider selling things like this. I probably would do a buy it now and then integrate the shipping cost into the price of the item, so it gives you a little flexibility on how you want to ship this thing. So I would probably more so show $8.95 with free shipping, and then you probably end up doing a little bit better on those. But when we're looking at these things, I mean, 550 is not a whole lot. Again, 1988 is one of the least spectacular dates. But what if we go back to like 1984 or 1982? So let's go ahead and explore that, because he probably a few hundred 1984 mint sets. Well, it's egg on my face, $5.50. I think, yeah. Well, here's a lot of two, a 72 and 84 Proof sets. Again, yeah, man, his uncle got really, really handed to him. All right, so mint sets aren't the most spectacular, but they're worth more than face value. I've heard 2 to 3x face value. Coin shops, if you wanted to get rid of them and to keep them more collectible, for people that want them, sell them to a coin shop still in the packaging. They won't take them unless it's still in the mint packaging. But Proof sets, let's go ahead and take a look at those. Again, not worth zero. These things still have a little bit of value to them. You get your best deals if you buy them in bulk, obviously, but we're here to try and resell these things. I've had a lot of luck selling these for about $7-8. There are folks that get a little bit less for them, but yeah, I mean, he was paying 20 to $30 a piece for him. Obviously, that was a completely different time that we are looking at here, and it's unfortunate because these things have hit pretty close to rock bottom. And if he was going to resell these, I would say your best bet. I know you listen to my videos. I mean, your best bet is going to be sell them in bulk. Take your mint sets and probably sell them to a coin shop. Yeah, that's going to be, you're kind of, if you got $3 for every mint set that you sold, that's, pretty gosh darn close to face value, especially if they only have $half in there. There are mint sets going back into the 70s that have dollar coins, and then there's the Susan B. Anthony's and all that, 1979, 1980. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of market for these. Now, of course, we got to talk about the 5,000 pound pink elephant in the room. Okay, that's going to be the certain varieties that you can find in these. 1990 is one of those linchpin kind of like dates for Proof sets, because there is the No S Lincoln cent that you can find in there. That coin that, I would certainly look through your uncle's stuff, because if you came across one of that's going to make you feel a whole lot better. That's a coin that's, if you kept it in the original packaging, don't even grade it at all because it's highly identifiable, is a coin by itself that's worth about $1,500 raw. So, there's those type of coins. I mean, there are other really big monstrous coins. If you're lucky enough and the sun, stars, and moon was like in perfect alignment, you cracked open that 1975 Proof set and came across a No S dime out of all things, that will pay off your house and probably your car all in one shot. It's that expensive. There's the, if you got some older, that's 1968. There's the No S dime for 1968. 1971, you had the No S nickel in there as well. I mean, there's a lot to look for, not to mention the bunch of varieties that exist in the actual Proof sets. But I would probably advise that you don't crack open any more of the mid sets and just deposit them to the bank, because there are little hidden gems to be found in those. But a little story for you guys to kind of like harken back of what it was like to be in the coin game as a collector back in the 80s and 90s. It was not easy. The whole phone system thing, from what I can remember, is a crapshoot. And sometimes, you have a lot of people that really were gullible for that stuff. And, everyone, there was a lot of people that watched this stuff in the middle of the day. It'd be at like 11 a.m. or after, the soap operas would all be done by noontime. Everybody would hop on, HSN and CoinVault TV and all the other ones that have been around during that time, and they would do their shopping. They would do the Home Shopping Network. They would do, what's the other ones? There was a number of them, actually. A lot of fashion stuff, from what I can remember. A lot of people were ordering clothes back in the day, and yeah, it was It was a crazy time to be alive, to be sure. Back when shopping malls were still hot as ever, and now they're like dropping like flies left and right. So there you go. It's kind of it's not an expensive lesson for you, because you don't have nothing. You have easily a number of thousands of dollars in coins. But at this point, unless you're not interested in any of the varieties you can find, certainly just go ahead and sell them. Find a coin dealer that's willing to buy all of them, and they're going to give you the good old boy deal. That's going to be extra cheap, of course, because it's like I'll buy all 5,000 or however many net you have left, probably what 4,500, after you've cracked open some of those sets, and then it's like, well, yeah, sure, you're barely giving me anything for these, but at the same time, I understand, because these are going to be very difficult to just flip on the fly and get your money back and then some. It's just these things are tough to manage these days. And I always shake in my boots every time I look through a collection, and it's predominantly 80s and 90s sets like this. And it's just not U.S. sets either. It's Canadian. It's all the other. It's the Bermuda sets. The Australian kind of like specimen sets that aren't worth a whole lot. It's really crazy. But anyways, that's why I want to talk about, a little bit of a story to kind of follow up with a little bit of kind of like actionable items that you can do to kind of make money on these. But what you don't want to do is, just trash them and send them back to the bank, because I've that's like some of the big reasons I've come across these little caches of like proof coins as well. Is people crack them out. They realize, man, a coin dealer is not going to pay me jack crap for these things. So I'm just going to go ahead and, move on from it. So there you go. A little bit of a life lesson for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you again for tuning in. Again, just to kind of like reiterate, this is my final month doing consultations. If you guys are interested at all whatsoever in kind of joining up and having a chat with your boy Sean about the hobby, about selling, we do have, like 2 weeks left. So come on down. Go ahead, check out the link down below. I'll still have it there. And then probably the link will still be there after this month. The calendar will be completely closed. In the event I wanted to open it back up, say, during the holidays or something like that, October, November, when people need help selling coins to kind of help fund the holidays, maybe I'll do that for a month. But, just due to time and everything else and another project I'm trying to work on, that's the big reason why that I am discontinuing for now consultations. But you guys have been a blast, the folks I've talked to about this. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you again for all of your support, your views, and for loving me. That means a lot. Aside from that, that's pretty much it. Oh, another thing. A viewer of the channel, AJ, had sent me this coin right here. I know it's kind of hard to see, and I don't know if I could blow this up here, but no, I can't. Okay, what this is. This is a Statue of Liberty 1986 Ellis Island commemorative. As you guys know, I mean it's dollar sized. It's like a Eisenhower dollar. So these were produced by the U.S. Mint in 90% silver. They made both proof and unk versions of this coin. All right. So he had sent me one of these. This is another gentleman that I talked to through one of my consultations. He had a number of questions regarding some of the Sacagawea dollars and things like that. But he had come across, and I want you guys to put into perspective where the silver market is currently, and this might even make a little bit of sense to you. A number of these in a parking lot, just all littered all throughout the ground. And what these are counterfeits. These are, I don't know if they're lead or something, or titanium. That's another metal that these counterfeiters are using. But they're magnetic. You can stick a magnet to them, whereas a regular 90% silver commemorative, you cannot stick a magnet to it. So, as far as it's got luster. It's crazy. These things are like cast counterfeits or something. But, considering that silver right now has been kind of wild and crazy, like a Girls Gone Wild video from back in the 90s, since we're on that kind of like talking point here. Selling these on the secondary market, you're going to end up with about $15 for these. Retail-wise, they're about $20 to $22. Now, it's not wildly crazy expensive that it commands too much of, attention, I suppose. So again, we have yet another version of a coin that people are counterfeiting. Now, we've seen counterfeits all across the board, right? We've seen people counterfeit just good old Joe Schmo quarters and nickels and dimes, things like that. So what's the big deal? It's, again, another counterfeit, right? But this is more to do the people who buy into silver, okay? Because you could just as easily have one of these in a stack that you're purchasing from either a private party. And, you got to be careful, you coin dealers out there. I know a lot of you are very good on this sort of thing, sniffing these out. But again, with the heightened sense of desire for silver in any form, just having one of these and say a group of a bunch of like bulk silver in a bag, you're going to end up losing money on these. So make sure you look out for these. $15 isn't a whole lot of money. I think that's the big aim, right? It's like counterfeiting a dollar bill. Why do it? Well, because it's under the radar. And that's what these are. These are under the radar in the market, and for the silver market most specifically. So that's it. That's all I got to talk about. So love you guys. Thank you again for all your views and support. And I guess I'll see you guys later. All right. You cats stay cool. Enjoy the hobby. And I will see you guys next time. All right. Take care.